On the day of delivery, my husband and mother-in-law bribed the midwife. As soon as I gave birth to a son, they would kill me and keep the child. They'd get my dowry and welcome his barren childhood sweetheart as his wife, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. But what they didn't know was that I had also bribed the servant boy who attended to my husband. Once the son was born, he would get so happy that he'd drink too much and fall into the pond and drown. A perfect plan to kill the father and keep the child. After all, who wouldn't want the life of a marquise's widow with a son and a fortune? In the 2nd year after marrying into the Yong'an Marquis manor, I became pregnant. Congratulations. Old madam, congratulations. Marquis, the madam is with child. Upon hearing the physician's words, everyone was overjoyed. My mother-in-law, who had never liked me, lovingly held my hand with a beaming smile. I told you a ewe is a blessed one. You can tell at a glance she is good for bearing children. From now on, you don't have to do anything or worry about anything. Just focus on giving me a big, chubby boy. Chi Jiao, who thought me vulgar and reeking of money, also smiled at me. A ewe, you've worked hard. I smiled slightly and lowered my head to look at my belly, unconsciously raising my hand to touch it, and asked, "Physician, can you tell if this child of mine is a boy or a girl?" The physician looked at me and said, with difficulty, "It is still too early to tell, but I noticed the dark circles under madam's eyes, and you've been having trouble sleeping and eating lately. This child is most likely a boy. The first 3 months of pregnancy are the most critical. The baby has just reached full term, so madam must take good care of herself." I thanked the doctor, then instructed my maid Jinzu to give him some silver as a proper thank you before turning my affectionate gaze toward Chi Jiao. "Husband, we're finally going to have a son. I won't be able to serve you for a while. How about I find you a concubine?" Chi Jiao was stunned for a moment, but quickly recovered and took my hand, his face full of sincerity. "My wife is generous, but since I married you, I must keep my promise not to take concubines. Just focus on nurturing the baby." I smiled faintly, lowering my head to hide the mockery at the corner of my lips. He wasn't keeping his promise of no concubines for my sake. He was clearly afraid that if he took one, his beloved cousin would throw a fit. That night, Chi Jiao was so happy that he stayed in my room. In the middle of the night, a servant boy knocked on the door. "My lord, there has been an incident with the case in the west of the capital. You need to go there." Usually, at times like this, Chi Jiao would just leave me behind and go. But today was different. Before Chi Jiao could get up, I rose first and fetched his outer robe for him. "My lord, please go quickly. The case is important. The child and I will wait for you at home." I emphasized the word child heavily. A flash of guilt passed through his eyes as he was about to get up. I suddenly clutched my belly and let out a low, restrained cry of pain. "SS." He furrowed his brow and looked at my abdomen. The hand reaching for the outer garment paused, then changed to supporting me instead. "Is your stomach feeling unwell? I'll go call the doctor." This was Chi Jiao's first child. He couldn't allow the slightest mishap. I waved my hand, sat down, holding onto the edge of the bed, my lips a bit pale. "It is nothing serious, Marquis. Your important matters come first. Jinju has already gone to fetch the doctor. He'll be here soon." Chi Jiao sized me up with a somewhat complicated gaze, only sitting down along the bed edge after a long while. "It is not that big of a deal anyway. Going tomorrow would be just the same." Seeing my expression ease slightly, he added, "Since you are carrying a child, I'll stay home and keep you company during this time." I happily agreed, leaning into his embrace, looking pleasantly surprised. The next day, I used the same method to keep Chi Jiao for lunch before letting him leave, watching his hurried steps as he went to handle the case. I couldn't help but want to laugh. I was just playing dumb and not making a fuss. Yet he really thought I was a fool. When Chi Jiao was still the heir, he had a beloved cousin named Lin Wanbai. She was the second young miss of the Earl's mansion, childhood sweethearts with Chi Jiao and well-matched in status. Back then, when the two went on an outing together, they encountered mountain bandits robbing travelers. During the fight, Lin Wanbai took an arrow to the abdomen while saving Chi Jiao, and from then on could never bear children. In noble families, continuing the family line is the top priority. A woman who can't bear children would never be allowed to become the marquise's wife, especially when the marquise's household only has Qi Jiao as the sole heir. So Lin Wanbai could only watch helplessly as Qi Jiao married me. But even though the two couldn't be together openly, they often had secret rendezvous in private, and the code for these secret meetings was the cases the servant mentioned. Jinzu watched Qi Jiao leave the courtyard, unable to hide her excitement. "Madam, this is the first time the Marquise has stayed in your quarters this long. With this child, the Marquis will come to your courtyard often. Our good days are finally coming." I looked at Jinzu and didn't respond. Silly girls over here dreaming. This child isn't some blessing. It is a death warrant. As soon as I give birth to a son, Qi Jiao will kill me and bring Lin Wanbai into the household. Me name is Chu Yu, daughter of a wealthy merchant from the Jiangwai region. Originally, with my status, it would have been impossible to marry into the Marquise's household. But that year, something big happened in the capital. The emperor discovered a deficit of over 4 million taels of silver in the Ministry of Revenue, all caused by nobles and meritorious officials over the years. The emperor was furious and ordered that everyone involved must repay the debt within half a year or have their titles stripped. The Yong'an Marquise's household was also on the repayment list, and the amount was substantial, a full 1.2 million taels owed to the Ministry of Revenue. This money had long been squandered by the Marquise's household over the years. The Qi family tried everything but could only scrape together 100,000 taels of silver. So someone came up with a way out for the Marquis Manor. A marriage alliance. Isn't Jiangwai full of rich merchants? Just find any family to marry into and plug this hole first. Once this matter passes, find an opportunity to secretly get rid of this unsatisfactory daughter-in-law, then marry another one. Simple as that. Jiangwai is full of wealthy merchants, and my family can only rank third. Originally, this marriage alliance with the Marquis Manor wouldn't have fallen to me, but the two families ahead refused no matter what to let their daughters leave home and marry off to the capital. It was because the former richest man in Jiangwai had married his daughter to the Duke of Rong's manor, and within 3 years she was killed. Not only was her family's wealth seized, but the Duke of Rong's manor even turned around and accused them, causing their family's complete ruin. With this cautionary tale, everyone avoided the Marquis Manor's marriage proposal. Only I, barging into the hall and seeing Qi Jiao, who came to propose, my eyes lit up. I hurriedly stopped my father, who was about to refuse, and said firmly, "Father, your daughter is willing to marry into the Marquis Manor." And so the marriage alliance was settled on the spot. Afterwards, father pulled me aside, so angry he was blowing his beard and glaring. "Ah, you are my most outstanding daughter. I was planning to hand the family business over to you. Why would you marry into that damn Marquis Manor?" "What damn Marquis Manor? That is my carefully selected stepping stone. The Marquis Manor isn't the only one coming from the capital seeking marriage for money, but only this Marquis Manor suits my intentions the best. The old Marquis was bedridden and about to pass away, and Qi Jiao was the only son of the family. Inheriting the title was just a matter of time once I married in. I would sooner or later become the Marquioness. Does father think that if we refuse the Marquis Manor and just stick to doing business honestly, this matter will be over?" I looked at him. "Once these nobles recover from this period, when they run out of money, where will they go to get more? Scholars, farmers, craftsmen, merchants rank last. If we only have wealth but no power to protect it, we'll just be fat sheep in their eyes. Better that I marry into the Marquis Manor, secure my position as Marchioness, and become the family's backing. But the Marquis Manor is a dragon's den and tiger's lair. How could they possibly let a merchant's daughter become the main wife?" He sighed helplessly. "This Qi Jiao, I had someone look into him. He is devoted to the Earl Manor's second young lady. If you marry in, I am afraid sigh." I gripped father's hand tightly and revealed a confident smile. "Just wait, father. The position of Marchioness is mine for certain." 3 months later, it was the Duke Manor's old Madame's 80th birthday. I represented the Marquis Manor and sent over a painting titled "Eternal Pine" by the contemporary great scholar Gu Yuji. As soon as I sat down, I heard someone across from me let out a scornful laugh. A mere merchant's daughter, how could she have an original painting by Master Gu? It is probably a fake she bought, right? Following the voice. I looked up diagonally across. A woman was covering her lips and giggling softly at Lin Wanbai. It was Shu Shuer, Lin Wanbai's close friend from her boudoir days. Looking at this stance, she is trying to stand up for Lin Wanbai and humiliate me. I wasn't angry, and looked at her kindly. Miss Shu says this painting is a fake. Then please tell me, who forged this painting, which original was it copied from, and where did I buy it? She didn't expect me to counter her, and became a bit flustered for a moment. I don't buy fake paintings. How would I? Would I know all this about you? I put away my smile, my expression sharp, staring at her. Since Miss Shu can't say, then why did Miss Shu insist that I don't have an original painting by Elder Gu and bought a fake instead? Shu Shuer was a bit panicked, her fingers twisting together, unconsciously looking toward Lin Wanbai's direction, hoping Lin Wanbai would step in to help her. But Lin Wanbai pretended not to see, so she could only brace herself and say, Elder Gu is a great scholar of our time. His paintings are only sold to those with fate. How could a mere merchant girl like you deserve? How do I not deserve it? I interrupted her. My father's trading houses are all over Qing Kingdom. He loves to travel everywhere, and happened to meet Elder Gu and obtained this longevity pine painting. What is wrong with that? You are just making excuses. How could Elder Gu think highly of lowly merchants like you? Shu Shuer anxiously tried to argue. Silence, the nanny beside the old madam interrupted her. Young lady, watch your words. This is the Marchioness of Yong'an, not some merchant girl you keep calling her. Shu Shuer glared at me resentfully, then let out a hemph at Lin Wanner, sitting down in tearful shame and anger. He stood up and bowed to thank the old madam seated in the place of honor. This old madam had once shared a connection with old Master Gu, but they never ended up together. Whether this painting was authentic or not, she could tell at a glance. As for Shu Shuer, she was quite the fool, letting herself be used as a pawn by Lin Wanbai. Just like that, and Lin Wanbai was also someone who couldn't keep her cool. I merely tricked Qi Zhao into thinking the painting was a forgery, and she was already eager to use this against me, trying to ruin my reputation. It seems that keeping Qi Zhao on the day I was diagnosed with pregnancy had already made her feel threatened. After the banquet ended, I was about to leave when I ran into Lin Wanbai on the way. To be precise, she came chasing after me. She stared at my belly, full of jealousy, gnashing her teeth. Sister-in-law is truly blessed, getting pregnant so quickly. But childbirth is like passing through the gates of hell. I just wonder if sister-in-law has the fortune to give birth and raise the child? These words were utterly vicious, just short of openly cursing me to die. I stopped in my tracks, looking at her with a half-smile. No need for cousin to worry about me. I have a fortune of 10,000 strings, and will naturally hire the best physicians and midwives. Giving birth to and raising a child is no problem at all. As for cousin, you've already become an old maid and still haven't married. If you delay any longer, you'll only be fit to be someone's second wife. She was stung by my words and glared fiercely at me, but then seemed to think of something and looked smug. At least it is better than sister-in-law who married someone whose husband doesn't like her and runs outside every day. I may not be married, but someone truly loves me and keeps me in his heart. I was somewhat surprised was this self-exposure. So I replied without mercy. Cousin is right. Your sweetheart indeed truly likes you and meets with you in secret all the time. He probably wouldn't mind that you can't bear children. But why hasn't he come to propose and marry you after all this time? Being unable to bear children was Lin Wanbai's sore spot back then. It was precisely because of this that she was rejected by the Yong'an Marquis Manor. She was enraged by these words, trembling with anger, and rushed up wanting to hit me. Why are you so malicious? She roared. Jinju was quick to block her, but Lin Wanbai raised her other hand, still wanting to strike again. I immediately crouched down, clutching my belly and crying out in pain. Miss Lin, I have no grudge against you. Why do you want to harm my child?" My cries drew the attention of those around us. Lin Wanbai panicked. She was jealous of me, true, but she wouldn't dare cause me to lose my child. No, it wasn't me. I didn't do anything. Just as she was at a loss, Chi Zhao appeared from somewhere, scooped me up in his arms, and strode out. Before leaving, he didn't forget to give Lin Wanbai a piercing glare. He saw that look clearly. It was an unmistakable warning. Of course, I didn't let this opportunity slip by either. I also gave Lin Wanbai a smug look, which drove her crazy. After that day, Chi Zhao didn't go looking for Lin Wanbai for quite a while. He really wanted a child and couldn't afford the slightest mishap. His coldness toward Lin Wanbai was meant to tell her that she couldn't touch this child. But in Lin Wanbai's eyes, this behavior meant Chi Zhao had changed his heart. So when she learned that Chi Zhao had skipped their anniversary to celebrate my birthday instead, she completely lost it. She rushed into the Marquise's residence without a care. She deliberately wore the same dress she had worn when she took an arrow for Chi Zhao. The moment she saw him, she bit her lower lip and widened her eyes, letting tears roll down her cheeks, looking as pitiful as a rain-soaked pear blossom. Chi Zhao beside me was also moved. He immediately let go of my arm and stared at her in a daze as if he was about to rush over and embrace her any second. The guests at the banquet were all shrewd people. They looked at me, then at the two of them, and instantly understood what was going on. The atmosphere became eerily strange, and a few gossipy noblewomen started whispering among themselves. I pretended not to notice their affair and tried to smooth things over. "Cousin is here. Come, have a seat. How thoughtful of you to come all the way to attend my birthday banquet." After saying that, I had a seat added and personally pulled Lin Wanbai to sit down. Only then did Xu Zhao react, looking at Lin Wanbai with some annoyance, as if blaming her for coming on her own accord and nearly making him lose face. After several rounds of drinks, seeing the seat beside me and the newly added one both empty, I excused myself to everyone, claiming I couldn't hold my liquor. Passing by the rockery, I heard rustling sounds coming from inside. Jinzhu heard it too, thinking it was some improper servant boy and maid, and was about to step forward to scold them, but I pulled her back to silence her, only to hear continuous soft moans from behind the rockery, as a woman's voice complained coquettishly. "I thought you'd had a change of heart now that you have a child. If I hadn't taken that arrow for you back then, I could have children too." The man's voice replied to her, panting heavily. "Never. I will only ever love you alone, but you should still avoid quarreling with Chuyu for now. Don't stir up trouble. She is pregnant now, and we need this child. I've already bribed the midwife. As long as she gives birth to a boy that day, we'll smother her with a pillow." Jinzhu's eyes widened in shock, both hands covering her lips, trembling all over in horror. The two continued their conversation, but I just get jealous. Whenever I think about you neglecting me for that lowly merchant's daughter, I feel miserable. What is there to feel miserable about? Once she is dead, I'll welcome you through the door, and the son will be raised under your care too. I didn't listen to the rest. It was all filthy talk. It is just that this plan of his, how is it so similar to mine? I've also long since bribed the servant boy who attends to Chi Zhao personally. Once my son is born, I'll have him drink too much in celebration of having a son, then accidentally fall into the pond and drown. A perfect plan to get rid of the father while keeping the child. Looks like I need to change my plan. If I don't die that day, Chi Zhao probably won't be in the mood to drink. Walking along while thinking like this, I unconsciously returned to Jingshu Garden where I lived, seeing me return to the courtyard still calm and composed while writing a letter. Jinzhu couldn't sit still anymore. She paced back and forth in front of me, even stomping her feet. I glanced at her, paid her no mind, and continued writing until I finished a full page, then picked up the paper and blew on it. "Jinzhu, look, does this handwriting look nice?" She grabbed my hand and said anxiously, "Miss, how can you still be in the mood to write? The master wants to harm you." Seeing her like this, I couldn't help but smile. What is there to fear, Jinzhu? Fortune lies within misfortune, and misfortune lurks within fortune. You should trust your miss, But shh, I placed my finger to my lips and cut her off. Don't say such unlucky things. Jinju, you followed me for so long. Have you ever seen a deal I couldn't close? She lowered her head and thought for a moment. Number. So, don't worry, this is just another big deal. After saying this, I folded the letter and stuffed it into her hand. Find someone to deliver this by fast horse, make sure it reaches my father. She took the letter with both hands, suddenly understanding. So, miss, you had a plan all along. I nodded with a smile, and only then did she relax, running off in a flash until she was out of sight. A gust of wind blew past, the leaves rustling loudly, and the ginkgo tree in the courtyard was suddenly shrouded in a large shadow. He gazed at the sky, and a dark cloud happened to drift by, blocking the sun. It was going to rain. Chi Zhao's reassurance behind the rockery was quite effective, and Lin Wanbai indeed never caused any more trouble. And my belly grew bigger day by day, and soon it was nearly time to give birth. To leave nothing to chance, Chi Zhao found 2 midwives ahead of time to stay by my side at all times, even guarding me when I went to relieve myself. I only sneered inwardly, but kept a grateful expression on my face. My husband is so good to me. I received a letter from my father today, saying he and mother are coming to the capital to see me. They should arrive in about 2 days. Chi Zhao was a bit surprised. Father-in-law and mother-in-law are coming? They want to be here with me for the birth and see their grandchild. Chi Zhao said nothing, seemingly calculating something. That night, after drinking the pregnancy-stabilizing medicine, I felt unbearable abdominal pain and was promptly confined to the birthing room. In a daze, I looked around and realized everyone in the room were people of my husband and mother-in-law. Even Jinju was kept outside. Jinju, Jinju, I want Jinju with me, I shouted. Outside the door, Jinju was also yelling to come in, but her voice grew farther and farther away. I heard Chi Zhao say, "My lady, focus on the delivery. Jinju and I will wait for you outside." A wave of intense pain hit me, nearly making me pass out. A midwife was cheering me on by my ear. "My lady, don't get distracted. Push, push." I took a deep breath with no time to think and focused on working with the midwives to deliver the baby. I don't know how long it took. I was already numb from the pain when I suddenly heard a loud baby's cry and the midwife's excited voice. "Congratulations to the old madam and the marquis. It is a young master." Mother-in-law was overjoyed. "Quickly bring the child out to see." Chi Zhao was also very happy. "I have a son." After saying that, the 2 of them exchanged a look with the midwife in unspoken agreement. The midwife received the signal, nodded, and turned to walk back into the room. Sharp-eyed Jinju caught this scene, and disregarding all propriety, rushed toward the delivery room to come in and protect me, but she was stopped by the servants guarding the door and pushed to the ground. Jinju panicked and got up to rush in again, but was pinned firmly to the ground by the guards Chi Zhao had called over. "What are you doing? I need to go in and see my lady." Chi Zhao ignored her, staring intently at the delivery room door, expecting the midwife to come out soon and announce my death. After just a short while, the midwife who had just gone in came out holding the baby. Heaven's blessings, mother and child are both safe. Chi Zhao's eyes widened in disbelief, his voice seeming to squeeze out from between his teeth. "What did you say?" The midwife held back a smile and repeated once more, "Congratulations, Marquis. Mother and child are safe." Chi Zhao's expression suddenly changed, and he strode toward the room. Jinju was terrified, desperately breaking free from the guards holding her, blocking Chi Zhao's path. "You can't go in." Chi Zhao's face was sinister, ignoring her completely, shoving Jinju aside and striding inside. Suddenly, a flurry of footsteps came from outside, a booming voice piercing through the night. "Son-in-law, how is my daughter?" Chi Zhao froze, the foot that had just stepped into the doorway pulled back, stiffly turning his head. I watched as my father and mother arrived outside the birthing room carrying a pile of gifts. "I am not too late, am I? Has the baby been born?" The scene fell into an eerie silence. It was my mother-in-law who reacted first, guiltily forcing a smile. What perfect timing in laws. You just gave birth to a big healthy boy. Mother and child are safe." She then elbowed Chi-Jiao. Only then did Chi-Jiao awkwardly put on a smile and took the baby from the midwife's hands. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, what perfect timing. Chi-Jiao would never have guessed that the letter supposedly arriving in the capital 2 days later was a cover my father and I had arranged. In truth, my father and mother had already been waiting in the capital for half a month. Mother walked straight into the birthing room. "Let me go see your first." Jinju also followed in, crying, tears still hanging at the corners of her eyes. I held both their hands and gave them a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, those old women were all bribed by me. They won't do anything to me." Jinju was still crying. "Miss, this is really too dangerous. What if they betray you? They won't." I shook my head. No one can offer a higher price than me. I've always lived by the principle that money makes the world go round. There is nothing money can't solve. If there is, it just means the price offered wasn't high enough. All of Chi-Jiao's expenses come from my pocket. Now, if he can bribe the midwives with money, then I can use money to bribe the midwives he bribed. It is just business highest bidder wins. When it was midnight and everyone had mostly dispersed, and Chi-Jiao had gone back to his own courtyard to sleep, I dismissed the servants and asked my father, who was watching by my bedside. "Has the matter I mentioned in my letter been taken care of?" Father nodded solemnly. "Don't worry. Everything was done as you said." He then clutched his chest with both hands, making a pained expression. "I even gave up half of my family fortune this time." I smiled helplessly. Father is really adorable. A few months ago, I had written to my father, informing him that the national treasury was empty and the border war situation was dire. I asked him to unite the wealthy merchants of Zhongguai to raise funds in the name of serving the country and to purchase grain and cotton clothes to send to the border. Although he didn't understand why I asked him to do this, he still followed my wishes and did it well. I gave him a thumbs up. "General Wu Wei has now crushed the enemy forces. That half of your family fortune was well spent." To prevent the Qi family from harming me again while I was weak during my postpartum confinement, father and mother decided to stay and take care of me personally. My mother-in-law was very displeased. Putting on the airs of the Marquis Manor's old madam, she went around saying openly and covertly that we merchant folk were petty and refused to leave the manor. Fortunately, father and mother weren't thin-skinned people and completely pretended not to hear. As for Chi-Jiao's side, when Lin Wanbai heard I had safely given birth to a son, she thought Chi-Jiao would abandon her and made a fuss about hanging herself. I don't know what methods Chi-Jiao used to coax her back, but I had no time to care about these things, immersing myself in enjoying this rare time of family reunion. Unfortunately, time passed too quickly, and the 1-month period soon arrived. When we parted, mother held my sleeve with tearful eyes. Who knows when we'll meet again next time." I hugged her back, gently patting her back, and said softly, "Mother, trust me, it won't be too long." 2 months later, I was pregnant again. For this child, I have to thank Lin Wanbai. If she hadn't been quarreling with Chi-Jiao all the time recently, Chi-Jiao wouldn't have come to my courtyard every time he got drunk. Me mother-in-law was the happiest to hear this news. She was certain I was good at bearing children, so she went to discuss with Chi-Jiao about having me continue bearing children and marrying Lin Wanbai as an equal wife. When Jinju overheard this news and rushed to tell me I was practicing calligraphy, after hearing her report, I didn't even raise my head. Lin Wanbai won't agree. A second-class jinchi is still not a jinchi, a concubine is still not a proper wife. Sure enough, that evening the servant boy beside Chi-Jiao secretly came to report. He said Lin Wanbai firmly refused to agree, and once again used the life-saving grace to threaten him. And Chi-Jiao, as expected, compromised again, swearing an oath that he would get rid of me once this child was born. But he underestimated a woman's jealousy. Lin Wanbai was already certain that Chi-Jiao wouldn't get rid of me, so she decided to do it herself. On the day General Wu Wei returned triumphant to the capital, the streets were packed with people. I was among those watching. Originally, I had cleared the area in advance to watch from the second floor of a restaurant. When the tall horses passed by, someone said, "The view is better on the second floor. Let's go up there." So a large crowd pushed past the guards at the entrance and surged in. In the chaos, Lin Wanbai, who had followed the crowd up, suddenly bumped into me. I involuntarily lurched forward, my belly hit the railing, and with a cry of pain, I fell straight down from the second floor. Jinju's eyes nearly split open. She reached out to grab me, but missed. I closed my eyes, waiting for the intense pain that was about to come. But I felt myself caught by something, and the pain I had imagined never came. I opened my eyes and saw a face full of bushy beard. It was General Wu Wei. He was about to set me down on the ground, but saw my body curl up, my face twisted in agony. "It hurts. My belly hurts." Jinzu, who had already run downstairs, pushed through the crowd and hurriedly took me from the general's arms. "Jinzu, the child, save my child." In just that short moment, my face had already turned pale. Jinju looked at my skirt and found it soaked in bright red. Her voice was already choked with tears. "Is there a doctor present who can save our madam? Our madam is Chu Yu, the wife of Marquis Yong'an." General Wu Wei looked at Jinzu. "Who did you say she is?" Jinzu was already crying, her face covered in tears. "Chu Yu, the wife of Marquis Yong'an." The world spun around me. I was held in someone's arms and passed out from the pain. When I woke up again, I was in the Marquise's residence. Jinju, who had been keeping watch by the bed, had cried until her eyes were red and swollen. She told me that General Wu Wei had personally escorted me back. I looked beside me. My mother-in-law's eyes held disappointment, and my husband's face was filled with complicated emotions. The attending doctor kept shaking his head and sighing. Madam had just given birth and became pregnant again. Now that she has miscarried, her body is damaged. I am afraid it will be difficult for her to conceive again in the future. These words struck like a bolt from the blue. I was stunned for a long while before I came back to my senses. Grabbing Qi Zhao's sleeve, I spoke with hatred. "Husband, it was cousin. It was Lin Wanbai who pushed me down. She killed our child." A flash of guilt crossed Qi Zhao's face, but it quickly disappeared. "You, have you gone mad? There were so many people that day. How could it have been Wanbai? You lost your child today. You must be heartbroken. I'll have the physician prescribe some calming medicine for you. Rest well." I felt as if struck by lightning, slowly releasing my grip on his sleeve. I lay back down, my soul shattered. Ah yes, I had forgotten Qi Zhao and Lin Wanbai are thick as thieves. How could he ever blame Lin Wanbai for my sake? After all, he already has a son. This child lost is just lost. When night fell, Qi Zhao brought over a bowl of medicine. This is a new calming medicine the physician prescribed. It can help nurse your body back to health. I looked at him mockingly. Just to nurse my body back to health. Qi Zhao paused, then said gently, "Drink it, and you'll slowly get better." I laughed, and as I laughed, tears streamed down. I lifted the medicine bowl and drank it all in one gulp. After all that scheming, in the end, I was only making wedding clothes for others. Qi Zhao tucked in my blanket corners again, a flicker of reluctance in his eyes. "From now on, I'll accompany you every day while you take your medicine. I turned my back to him and refused to look at him. The night passed in silence. Qi Zhao fancied himself a gentleman who kept his promises. Since my miscarriage, he accompanied me every day while I took my medicine, but I was too heartbroken. Bowl after bowl of medicine went down, yet my body showed no improvement. Instead, I became drowsy, spending more than half of each day drifting hazily through sleep. Jinzu noticed something was wrong and wanted to send word to my parents, but she was scolded and confined to my courtyard. My child was also taken away by my mother-in-law, under the pretense of avoiding the sickness. About another month passed, and it started getting lively outside the door. Lacquer workers and painters came to work at the Marquise's residence, and the courtyard next door was being renovated. I asked Jinju, "Why is it so noisy outside?" Jinju lowered her head and covered her mouth, saying nothing, but I understood. Are they preparing a courtyard for Lin Wanbai? She is going to marry in, isn't she? Jinju closed her eyes briefly and finally nodded. I sighed, turned over, and continued sleeping. Let them enjoy their triumph for a few more days. 2 more days passed, and the gate of Jingshu courtyard was suddenly pushed open with great force. A woman dressed in goose-yellow embroidered brocade barged in. It was Lin Wanbai. She looked at me lying sickly on the bed, leaning against the couch and smiling smugly. Chu Yu. So what if you married Brother Zhao? So what if you bore a child? He still loves me. You probably don't know this Brother Zhao poisoned you to marry me. You won't live much longer, and your child will call me mother from now on. I looked at her and sneered. I was right that day. You could only marry as a second wife. So what if you marry Qi Zhao? You still can't bear children. Guess what, years from now, when you still can't have a child, do you think Qi Zhao will blame you for killing his second child back then? Lin Wanbai. Disasters from heaven can be forgiven, but those brought upon oneself cannot. Lin Wanbai was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, instantly bristling. Still talking tough when death is at your door, Chu Yu. Save those words for the king of hell. With that, she stood up and looked down at me, sneering. Look at you, just like a stray dog. I closed my eyes, too lazy to look at her anymore. Then you'd better watch out. You might not be able to handle a stray dog's counterattack. Jinzu, see the guest out. After Lin Wanbai left, not long after, Qi Zhao came. He walked in carrying the last bowl of medicine. Ayu, it is time to take your medicine. I looked at that bowl of dark medicine and asked, Husband, once I drink this medicine, I'll never wake up again, will I? Qi Zhao turned his head away. His expression pained, saying nothing. His look said it all. I sighed. So be it, so be it. I picked up the medicine bowl and drank it all in one gulp. Qi Zhao wanted to stop me. His lips trembled a few times, but in the end he said nothing. I smiled bitterly at him, raised the tea on the table to toast him. The vermilion strings are broken. The bright mirror cracked. The morning dew has dried. The fragrant season faded. The white-haired lament. The sorrow of parting. Eat well and do not think of this concubine. The Jin River flows endlessly. Today, Ayu toasts you with tea instead of wine, bidding you eternal farewell. Upon hearing these words, Qi Zhao shed tears and unconsciously picked up the tea on the table and drank it all in one gulp. Before he could say anything, he suddenly felt a pain in his chest and abruptly spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The tea is poisoned. Under his shocked gaze, I slowly stood up and looked down at him with disdain. Where was any sign of terminal illness now? Husband, how does it feel to be poisoned by the one who shares your bed? He clutched his chest, unable to catch his breath. Simone. Someone, I interrupted him. No need to shout, everyone in this Jingshu courtyard is my people. No, the entire Marquis Manor is my people. You venomous woman. Qi Zhao glared at me viciously. This was all an act. I smiled at him. That is right. It was all an act. Surprised? Didn't expect that? You think you are really the master of this Marquis Manor. The midwife you bribed, the servants around you, the doctor who treated my illness, they're all my people. I crouched down, watching his agonized appearance. He struggled desperately but couldn't muster the strength to stand up, watching his ridiculous appearance as he fought to survive. I crouched down. Husband, do you know why I married into the Marquis Manor to bear you a son back then? It wasn't just you coveting my Chu family's wealth. I was also coveting your Marquis Manor's noble title. Oh right, I forgot to tell you. The second child was fake. To create an opportunity for you to harm me, I went through great pains and spent a lot of silver to obtain this fake pregnancy medicine, deliberately miscarrying to create an opportunity for you. You are not ruthless enough. You can't even finish such a simple thing in one strike, so don't blame me for being heartless. He pointed at me venomously, gasping for breath, unable to utter a single word, and passed out. I looked at him with disgust and ordered someone to carry him away. That night, someone witnessed Qi Zhao leaving my room and swaggering out of the manor gates. He even happily had drinks at a tavern before going to meet Lin Bai. The next day, when my mother-in-law saw me standing before her perfectly fine, she was so shocked her jaw nearly dropped. I respectfully bowed to my mother-in-law. "Greetings, mother. The medicine my husband gave me last night really worked. After drinking it, I am completely recovered." My mother-in-law looked unconvinced, stumbled to my courtyard, searched around, and came back. Where is Chi Jiao?" "My husband went out last night, said he had a case to handle." "Impossible!" my mother-in-law demanded loudly. "Where did you hide him?" At that moment, a servant boy came stumbling over, shouting, "This is bad, old madam. The Marquis, is had an accident. Chi Jiao is dead. Deed while having a rendezvous with Lin Bai, died on the bed the two of them had set up outside the courtyard. The doctor's examination concluded it was death during intercourse. When my mother-in-law and I arrived, the two were still on the bed, clothes disheveled. The moment my mother-in-law saw my husband's stiff body, she immediately coughed up blood and fainted. The Earl's family also rushed over, and the guards from both families surrounded the courtyard so tightly that not even water could leak through. The moment Lin Bai saw me, her eyes reddened, and she lunged at me fiercely. "It was you. It must be you. You killed Brother Zhao." The Countess couldn't keep her composure and grabbed her. "Keep your voice down. Do you think you are looking good right now?" I threw myself onto my husband's body and wailed loudly, "Husband, what will become of me and our child without you?" I cried until I was gasping for breath. Lin Bai still wanted to lunge at me, but only stopped after the Countess slapped her across the face, and she too sobbed into the corner of the blanket. Her dream had shattered. I pretended to grieve and cried for quite a while before gradually calming down. I looked at the two people on the bed while sobbing, closed my eyes, and put on an expression of having made up my mind. Since what is done, and my husband is gone, but he was with cousin before he died, they must have been deeply in love. Would cousin be willing to marry into our family as a ghost bride, to fulfill the feelings between you two? What? The Countess was the first to object, saying in horror, "Absolutely not." Lin Bai had also sobered up a bit by now, and she shrieked, "He is already dead. I won't marry him. It was clearly you killed Brother Zhao. I was knocked out as soon as I entered the courtyard yesterday. Chi Jiao, look, this is the one you loved. She won't even keep vigil for you yet. You threw away your life for her." I wiped my tears aggrievedly, heartbroken. "Cousin, please don't twist the truth. Yesterday I was recovering from illness at home. Everyone on the street saw that my husband and you came to this courtyard by yourselves. Could it be that I forced you to come? Lin Bai's hair was disheveled, looking just like a madwoman. I understand now. That letter yesterday was written by you, Brother Zhao." "Slap," the Countess slapped her again. "Shut up," then she looked toward me, her eyes full of pleading. "Marchioness of Yong'an, how do you wish to handle this matter? The Marquis dying suddenly while having an affair with the Count's daughter wouldn't look good for either family if word got out. The best solution was to let the matter rest and each swallow this bitter loss in silence. At least, that is how the Count's household saw it. Of course, I thought so too. In the end, the Count's household compensated the Marquise's household with a sum of gold and silver and quietly took the person back. And I sorrowfully arranged Chi Jiao's funeral. Worth mentioning is that there were too many people present that day. Despite both families' best efforts to cover it up, the matter still spread like wildfire, becoming the biggest joke in the entire capital this year. Lin Bai simply couldn't endure the strange looks and pointing fingers from all directions, and ultimately took her own life in shame and rage. As for me, I became the pitiful woman in everyone's mouths, and the common folk all felt indignant on my behalf. My mother-in-law also never woke up after fainting that day. I alone handled my mother-in-law's funeral affairs, which made everyone pity me even more. A widow with a young child guarding a vast fortune in such a grand marquis manner was bound to attract covetous eyes. Just when everyone was speculating whether I would be bullied by other nobles, the mighty general suddenly stepped forward, took me as his sworn sister, and my son also became the general's godson. From then on, no one dared to have designs on the Marquis manor. Me child is now the heir apparent, and will inherit the title once he comes of age. During the New Year season, my parents came from Zhongwei to visit me. Seeing how well I had managed the Marquis manor, they couldn't stop praising. You are truly your father's pride, every step calculated without fail. Summoning knocked at the door outside. It was the mighty general and his wife visiting. The general's wife held my hand. Good sister, we owe it all to you back then. If you hadn't rallied the wealthy merchants to send sufficient provisions to the general, the outcome of that battle would have been uncertain. I smiled and clasped her hand in return. It is my sworn brother who has the ability to defend our territory and guard our borders. From then on, the dust settled.